If you're moving to Rochester, New York, you need to watch this video first because I'm going to be going over some super important things as it pertains to moving to the area. Things like the economy and job market, things like crime and the real estate market. So if you're coming to buy a house here, you need to know these things in order to buy a house because it's not the same as every other state or every other major metro. So stick around. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. Guys, my name is Anthony Hamilton. I'm with the American Home Team here at eXp Realty in the Rochester and Finger Lakes region. As much as I love making these videos for you, explaining all the things I just mentioned, I love even more to help you with that transition from wherever you're coming from to the Rochester and Finger Lakes region. So that number and that email is popping up on the bottom of your screen. I'd love to be the team of choice for you guys, whether you're moving in 9 days, 90 days, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. And be sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. That being said, let's get into the content. First thing we're talking about is the economy and the job market. So guys, Rochester has made major strides in becoming a diversified economy. So historically, we've had a major focus on strictly manufacturing, and now there's other key sectors like healthcare, education, and technology, and then like optics and photonics, right? So Kodak has always been a thing here, and Xerox, right? But education being one of the largest employers here in the Rochester region. With University of Rochester, you have RIT, you have Monroe Community College. In the Finger Lakes, you have a bunch of colleges, right? You have Finger Lakes Community College, and then let's see, you have Empire State, and you have all sorts of other universities and colleges in the Rochester region that act as major employers. So if you're an educator or if you're some other faculty or staff, these are great opportunities for you to move in and get a job almost immediately, as well as the healthcare. So if you're a nurse or a doctor or you know, something within the healthcare realm, you can almost move here and get a job immediately, just like the education realm, right? Because we have Strong Memorial Hospital. We have the whole University of Rochester kind of conglomerate, right? That houses so many different employees, so many amazing nurses, amazing doctors. I'm super thankful for Strong Memorial in the brain surgery that they did for me, as well as the knee surgery I just recently had. They are amazing, and if you can get into one of those institutions or one of those hospitals, you're in very good hands, not only as a patient, right, but if you're working there as well, you're going to get paid very well. You're going to get time off. You're going to get all the benefits that you need and desire as a employee, right? That being said, you need to work your ass off as well. You need to be a great employee, but these places are definitely great places for you to go and spend, I mean, if we're being honest, most of your time at, right? You spend most of your time at work. So you might as well make sure that it's a great place to work, and all of those places I just mentioned are amazing places to work. You know, not to mention government contracting agencies. L3 Harris is out here. There's some, I'm drawing a blank on the name right now, but there's some corporations that they make parts for like space shuttles and things like that, right? That go directly to NASA. That is not called Boeing, right? So these industry are great employers. So if you're moving here, you can almost immediately find a job that is well paying, and assuming you have the qualifications, right, you're going to be able to get right in and really without a gap in employment. So you know, I would certainly look into that, as well as if you're a remote worker, there are programs in the state that offer incentives for remote workers. So if you're a remote worker and you move here, there are certain grants that the state will give, right? It's a grant, so you don't need to pay it back, and it'll pay you to move here, right? It's something like $10,000, and then additionally, if you're gonna be buying a house, then it's gonna give you an additional like $5,000 or $7,000 or something like that. I'd have to look into the actual website. There is a website on it. You can do a little bit of research on this, but they're great incentives to move here. So if you are a remote worker and you don't work in person at these, you know, companies or whatever, it's a great reason for you to move here as well. So moving along, let's talk about the crime in Rochester. So crime is, if we're being real, in Rochester, in the city, crime is pretty rampant, I'd say. However, Rochester has made major strides in the type of crime that's happening, and then kind of like locality of where it is, or you know, these pockets and stuff. So one great source that you can go on is the Rochester Police Department page, and they have a crime mapper, right, where it tells you which kind of crimes are happening and where it's at, and you know, how long ago it was or whatever. It tells you the exact date, the street, or the address of the crime, and exactly what happened. So you can go on the Rochester Police Department website and find that, and that helps significantly, right? But what I'll say is, whenever I'm speaking about Rochester, I'm speaking about the kind of the whole surrounding area of Rochester, right? So we're talking Pittsford, Penfield, Fairport, Perrington, Greece, Irondequoit, even Scottsville, Honeoye Falls, right? A lot of the surrounding areas. And then even I would consider, I mean, I work in the Finger Lakes as well, so I consider it out into the Finger Lakes, like these major far out suburbs, right? So crime in the outskirts of the city, much like almost anywhere else that you go in the world, is, you know, it's not very abundant at all. It's almost, I'd say, especially kind of the further out from the city you go, it's almost non-existent. We don't see a whole lot of crime. I think the extent of the crime that happens in the immediate suburbs, right? So Brighton and Greece, Irondequoit, like some of these suburbs that are just outside of the city and, you know, they border the city. I think we're talking about carjackings with the Kia Boys and these other little like micro gangs that just do the stupid stuff. They steal your car and hotwire it, and you know. But the Kia Boys, it's Kias and what is it, Hyundais, right? And if you have one of those cars and you park it in the city for a long period of time, chances are it may get stolen. The Kia Boys are pretty ruthless with this. They go on kind of like these rampages, if you will, and they will do that kind of thing. They take the police through a wild chase in the city. They end up crashing the car. They end up going to jail, and then the Rochester politics, they let them out almost immediately. And so that is kind of the why we have this like perpetual crime wave going on, is because a lot of these criminals, they're not in there for serious enough offenses where they're going to be locked up forever, but there's enough of a crime where they go there, but then they get let out pretty much overnight because of these, you know, these bail policies and stuff. So it's a very liberal policy as far as like people going to jail, criminals going to jail, and criminals being let out. They get let out all too easy, in my opinion, and that enables them to reoffend and reoffend and reoffend and reoffend, therefore harming more people and harming more, damaging more property and goods and things like that, right? So again, though, most of this is you know, kind of localized in certain areas, and again, go to the Rochester Police Department and you can see the whole city limits in what, where exactly it's happening and what exactly is happening, and that's a really helpful tool. So what I'll say is, as long as you get just outside of the city, you will be okay more often than not. So then, moving right along to the last topic that I wanted to touch on, and you know, those first two things are uber important in my opinion. I think that this last point, the real estate market, is going to be the catalyst to you actually moving here or not. And that is primarily because of the competition, right? A lot of people are moving here because you can get great houses at affordable prices. You know, you can get you know, a house that might be in expensive counties in Virginia might only, like, maybe that house in Virginia is like 1.5 million. That same house here might be something like 650 or 700,000, right? So prices in the Rochester region are still relatively affordable compared to a majority of the United States, and then especially compared to more expensive areas. So if you're talking like Fairfax County, Virginia, or you're talking like San Diego or LA or San Francisco or New York City, right? Even if you go downstate New York, you're talking way more expensive. Or if you're talking somewhere like Sarasota, Florida, or these areas where property value has skyrocketed, right? The Rochester region is so much less expensive and so much more affordable than those areas, hence why people are moving here. We don't have incredible amounts of people moving here, right? It's not like millions of people moving here every year, but we get enough pretty much to more or less wash out the people who are leaving every year, which is roughly anywhere from like 75 to 90,000 people a year type thing. According to some of the statistics you can find on Google. But that being said, nonetheless, there are people who are moving here. And so if you're one of those people moving here, chances are you're looking to purchase a property, you're looking to buy a house. And so the biggest thing that I would touch on, I would talk about right now, is the competitiveness in the Rochester market. We have some of the most competitive zip codes in the United States here in Rochester, right? The 14609 was just named, I think, the #2 hottest housing market for first-time home buyers. And it's been that way for, I mean, a few years now, at least, really since COVID. But what that does, I mean, obviously you have a supply and demand issue here, right? You have a ton of buyers, but you have hardly any sellers. I mean, most people don't want to move. They're locked into a 2% rate, or, you know, something, for whatever reason, they don't want to move. Houses just aren't on the market as much, right? So if you have 100 buyers, but you only have 2 listings, then, you know, you're wildly outnumbered, and only 2 buyers can get those 2 houses. So that leaves 98 other buyers who are still searching. And that's just an easy example. Obviously, the numbers are way more than that, but you get the point here. Right now we're sitting at 1 month of inventory on the market. It's actually 0.9, so just under a month of inventory. So that means if no new listings came on the market today, then the current inventory of housing would be wiped clean and emptied out in less than a month, because all the buyers would buy them, right? So a healthy market, a quote unquote healthy market, is somewhere between 3 to 6 months of inventory on the market. That would be a healthy market. We're not at that. A lot of other cities, a lot of other metros or areas of the country are sitting around 3 to 6 months of inventory, which is significant. That's awesome. That would be a great market for both buyers and sellers, right? Everybody is happy in that type of market. Here, we have just less than a month of inventory, which makes buyers extremely frustrated. That typically means that any given house, any given listing is receiving, you know, anywhere from 5 to maybe 25 offers on their house. Assuming it's a decent house, it presents well, shows well, and it's listed appropriately, it's receiving anywhere from 5 to 25 offers on a house. I just had one in Webster. It had, what did we have? We had 9 offers on it. It ended up going almost $80,000 or $90,000 over asking price. And it was a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath. I listed it what I thought was appropriately so that we didn't get 100 offers. My goal was not to get $90,000 over the asking price, but my goal was to hit a certain number. And it ended up just, it was a certain situation where the buyer ended up having a sister that lived right down the street, a couple doors down, and he was buying it for him and his elderly parents. And so it was a unique situation. But in order to bump up that much, you need other offers kind of escalating the price up. And that's exactly what we have in this market. You have enough offers that escalate the price up, and then you have some buyers who have, 401k funds or some sort of financial ability to be able to put enough money down on their mortgage so that the appraisal is sufficient, right? So that the appraisal does not come in lower than the purchase price, which is a significant piece to this. So, if you're moving to the area, it's super helpful if you have cash. If you have, the more cash, the better. If you're well qualified. And on that note, we have resources here to get you well qualified. If you don't know where to start, or you haven't done this in a while, maybe you bought your first home a little bit ago and, you know, say call it 20 years ago, things have changed a little bit, right? So reach out before you get started so that you kind of have an idea of what's going on. Our market is extremely conservative in who listing agents and sellers want you to get your lending from. They want somebody where maybe they can drive to their office and talk to the loan officer there and the underwriters there if something happened during the transaction, right? So it's a very local based kind of market, very conservative market, where chances are if you have a Chase Bank or you have we just closed one actually with Mr. Cooper Loans, which is a big national servicer, and they were great, they were fantastic, but it's not likely that you see an offer with a company like that get accepted, especially if it's like a Rocket Mortgage or if it's just one of these big national banks. Typically don't see them getting accepted. We have a few companies here. We have Annie Mac Home Mortgage, we have Premium Mortgage, we have Prime Capital, Prime Mortgage, whatever they're called, Prime Mortgage, Movement Mortgage, Homestead Funding. We have many local banks here that do an excellent job. They're amazing at what they do, and their only products are mortgages. And they have offices in Rochester. So that means the listing agent, buyer's agent, the sellers, whoever, if they have questions about the mortgage piece, they can go over to their office and they can talk to the loan officer and get the information that they needed rapidly, right? So that it's readily available. But the biggest piece that I want to hammer home is just the competition that you're going to see here. It's nothing like any other part of the country, I promise you. I'm not exaggerating. And this is kind of heartbreaking for a lot of you people who really want to move here or really want to buy a home here. It's possible. So I do want to stress that it's possible. It will happen, but it might take a while. So get your process started earlier than you think you have to, because it might take a few homes. And so, you know, it's important not to get emotionally attached to a lot of these properties just because you might be disappointed. You know, it's nothing that you do. It's just somebody threw more money at the house than you could, right? If you don't have more money, you can't throw more money at the house. It's that simple. It's unfortunate, but it's that simple. And so, you know, we do our best to position ourselves properly so that we can win a lot of these multiple offer situations. However, ultimately it comes down to what the seller is looking for. And if they're looking for cash and you don't have more cash, then, you know, it is what it is. So if you're moving here, just prepare yourself mentally and emotionally that it's going to be competitive. Bring as much money to the table as you possibly can. That's going to help kind of equip you the best possible way to actually win on these multiple offer situations. And, you know, I get a lot of people calling and saying, you know, I don't want to get in a multiple offer situation. There's a few options, right? One option is, well, then offer on a house that's falling down. You know, as blunt as I could put it. Offer on a house that's falling down, where you're gonna have to restore a lot of it, right? Because that's just the reality of it. Or, I mean, try and find an off-market property, which honestly, with how the market's going, most sellers know that if they're gonna put it on the market, they're gonna get better results out of this. There are some sellers, to be truthful, that don't want to deal with that whole process. They just don't want to. So, you know, there are chances that maybe you can get something off market, but it's slim to none. There's a lot of research involved with that, and I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to go to bat. If there's anything I can do to help you, I'm going to bat to do that, I promise you. But unfortunately, it's kind of unlikely. So just wrap your head and your mindset around that it's super competitive. You won't get priced out of neighborhoods, right? If you're offering, you know, X amount over asking price, the houses are still appraising. They're still worth what you're buying because every other house in the market is doing the same exact thing. So it's not like you're buying something that you're not overpaying, right? To put it simply, you're not overpaying. And that's a guarantee because every other house around you is selling for the same thing. So that's the good news. The bad news is that it might take a little bit longer. It might be a little bit more of a challenge moving here. But that's it, guys. That's all I got. I hope you got something from this video. Talked about the job market and the economy here in Rochester, talked about the crime, and talked about the housing market, and the biggest piece being that housing market. It's important to understand all of these things. I want to encourage questions. Reach out to me. I want to be of resource for you. So if I can get you in touch with a loan officer to get your mortgage started, or, you know, if you just have questions about, hey, am I competitive in this market? I would love to answer those questions and spend time with you talking about that. So reach out to the information on the bottom of your screen. I'm the guy that answers those texts, emails, and phone calls. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Be sure to hit that notification bell so you're notified every time a video just like this gets posted. And until the next video, guys, bye-bye, bye-bye.